Welcome back. This is Morning Prime, and today we're talking about youth and politics. My name is Trix Ingado, and of course, it would be remiss to not talk about the challenges that youth face when they're trying to run for office, what the preparedness, the journey that it takes to make it to office, if at all you're able to weather the hurdles, of course, and persevere long enough to actually make it through the hurdles. And no one in this country, is emblematic of those challenges other than Kevin Bahati, who has made the headlines over the past few years. He is a musician, but of course, lately we have known him as the aspirant who has been trying to get the Jubilee ticket for Mathare constituency. Also, we have today in studio with us Edwin Kegoli, who is a former student leader, and of course, he has some experience in whether or not young people are nurtured and prepared, even from the level of university politics, to get into politics. So we're going to dig deeper into some of the challenges as well as what is needed to be done in order to groom youth for leadership. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Of course, I'll start with you, Bahati. Of course, you have made the headlines for the past few weeks, and of course everyone is quite interested to understand what magic you did to ensure that the tide turns in your favor. Could you take us through your ambition to run for that seat, and of course the down moments where Kenyans witnessed you shedding tears, and now you actually have a ticket in your hands? What happened?
Ni Bahati tena.
Of course, yes.
My name is Kevin Bahati Kioko, MP aspirant for Mathare under the Jubilee Azimio ticket.
Yes.
Of course, for me, nianze na story ya machozi ama nianze na gani?
Anza na ile kitu ilikufanya ukatamani ku run for office.
For office, you know. I thank God that nimekuwa na hiyo limelight first as a musician, but even as a musician, being celebrated around the country and globally, winning awards, it was not satisfying to me. Saa zingine ukiona you have this success, but where you come from, because everyone has a belonging. Has where they call home.
Yeah.
And for me, Mathare is home. That's where I was born, raised, bred, and almost all my life imekuwa associated with Mathare. So when God blessed me to be a national star, the only thing yenye nilikuwa na feel na lack ni nikirudi home, back home in Mathare. Despite being celebrated, you see your people are passing through the same challenges, like you faced 20 years ago, growing in the slums and all that. And that's poor health care,
right.
Issues of, talents as in opportunities, the youth have no jobs and all that. So I felt like I can do something, to impact my society.
Yeah.
And that's by going for the Mathare top seat, and that's the member of parliament. Because I felt like as a musician, I was already doing so much than maybe the sitting MP, through feeding people, feeding programs, empowering the youth, just as a musician. So I felt like if I got this opportunity with the platform that God has given me, I can do much more for the people of Mathare. And that's why I chose that route.
Yeah. And then you decide to go for it, obviously.
Sure.
And then what happens?
I went for it. I thank first my party, Jubilee. Went through the nomination process, which was more of consensus and the opinion polls. Among the candidates that I was competing with, I emerged the winner. I was awarded the ticket by the Jubilee Director of Elections, Honorable Kanini Kega.
Yeah.
And I think when I posted, because even from the beginning, my, you know, our party, you know, in Azimio, our sister party, ODM, they knew so well that Bahati, in Mathare, we were to be given double tickets. So I think after I was awarded the ticket and it went viral is when the sitting MP, alijua, oh, this guy is a threat.
Okay.
And he started pushing for me to step down, you know.
But before that, there was that moment of machozi that also made headlines.
Yeah, that's where that's what sasa nikaona step down, you know. And you know, this was the ticket. My ticket is si Bahati tu peke yake. It's a ticket for the youth. It's a ticket for the young people. And there was no way I will let down the youth of this country and the people of Mathare by stepping down. And that's why I know, unajua Bahati bado is the humble Bahati. And mi si wale siasa ya vurugu. So I had to express myself, you know, for my party and the Azimio coalition to understand that this is not about Bahati.
Right.
This goes a long way. And hapo ndio machozi ilitoka. Ilikuwa machozi ya watu wengi.
Yeah, si yako tu peke yake. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to give it an opportunity to Edwin to speak to us about his ambitions, because it always starts from somewhere. For Bahati, it started off from where he grew up, seeing the hardship of the people, and now having to shoulder the responsibility of helping people while he's not even mandated to do so, politically speaking. What about you? You have been active in politics, but at the tertiary level, at university. Speak to us about what draws you towards politics, despite all the hardships that we've even had Bahati had experienced.
Thank you very much, and I'm very much honored to be here this morning. And young people in this country face a monumental task of unseating the senior citizens who are very well established, resource-wise. And we really find it hard to navigate through the political routes because of the existing, you know, a status quo that many of them do not want to yield. So the question that normally begs is, are young people determined enough to make the necessary change that they want to see? As a young person, I am determined because when you look around, you see need for freshness, you see need for new leadership.
Right.
And when I joined university, Mo University, I knew one day I would be the president of the university. So I started working on it the very day I was admitted. And I was admitted to a very good course that I was yearning to pursue. And I was enrolled to do political science and public administration.
Right.
So from day one, I was preparing to be president. And when the moment presented itself when I was in third year, I took it and I won by a landslide. And now moving forward, one day by the grace of God, I know I'll be in parliament. And for now, I'm happy to support my brother, a young person, to ensure that he wins so that we have many more role models ahead of us. So my rallying call to young people in this country is, given the numbers that we have and the census that was concluded in 2019 by Kenya National Bureau of Statistics speaks to the numbers that we young people can marshal. If we can say we want to elect one of our own, believe you me, Trix, we can make it because we have the necessary numbers. Just as women have advocated for a space in leadership, we young person are lagging behind. And we want to use the young people who've made it already, who've made tremendous steps and progress in terms of, you know, taking a step in leadership, like Bahati here and many more others that are already in leadership. We want to benchmark and support them so that they create like that lesson for those who are coming behind, so that we are able to move together as young people. Because look, the defining moment of the time right now is how to create an economic turnaround, growth and development. After the heat of COVID-19 pandemic, we saw massive loss of jobs. The economy shrunk. Many people have been suffering, and yet right now they are still suffering. And do we have a leadership that is determined to create a state in this country where the number of graduates can match the number of jobs available? Because when you look at World Bank report, they say that about 500,000 to 800,000 students are churned into the job market against a backdrop of about 150,000 jobs created. So the question is, where are these other students absorbed?
Yeah.
And this brings into sharp focus the question of the private sector. Okay. Is the government incentivizing the private sector enough to ensure that they are able to create jobs?
Yeah.
And
that's a good question, and I'd like Bahati's take on that as well, because if you're going to empower young people in urban settlements, there's a need to create jobs. But every time we see initiatives that come up from government, kazi kwa vijana, they seem like they are not well thought through. You know, like some last minute or kazi ya mikono type of thing. Do you think the government is doing enough? And as a possible young leader, what would you do to shift that?
You know, one thing I like the people to understand, especially the young people, is that right now, myself, I'm advocating for the Azimio government. But one thing I can tell the people is that no matter who you elect the president, if your grassroots leaders are not for you, they don't understand what you're going through, they don't understand what you need in terms of jobs creation, opportunities that needs to be presented to you, things will never change.
For sure.
Kwa sababu ni kama the president right now, my president doesn't know, or rather he has little knowledge on what is happening in a kijiji in Huruma, in Mathare, inside Mathare. You understand? Unapata, that can only be done by the area MCA, you know, working together with the chiefs, the sub-chiefs, and that's why we have Nyumba Kumis and all that. So, first, whoever you elect, hata kama tuseme, right now you want to vote for Baba, the fifth, it's so important that you get the right member of parliament, someone that understands you. You get it? Yeah. Because this issue of jobs creation, unapata, yes, the government is doing a lot to create jobs, to bring opportunities to the people, but do we have the right people that the government can hand over the projects to? You understand? And that's why I said this time, I know last time I campaigned for the president, this time I'm campaigning for the Azimio team, but even as I'm campaigning for the Azimio team, I want my people to be remembered. Unajua, so when we are seated on the table and we are discussing how we can help our people, I can be there, you know, niseme, you know, we have this number of youth unemployed, because like right now, during the last post-elections, I was in Mathare, I was in the middle of it, and I can tell you the truth, we did not fight because we were on a certain side. No, we fought because we were poor, we were unemployed, and we needed something to eat. So nikikuja nipewe so moja, nikimbiza ubeshte yangu, nashindwa, si utoke mbio bana, nimelipo. You understand?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So the issue of jobs creation inakuja pia with the person that you have elected. We have these people have good manifestos, like my party, my coalition has a good manifesto, but how will these resources trickle down to that common mwananchi?
Absolutely.
It's through the person.
It boils down to implementation. Now, Edwin, go ahead.
I think he brought up a very good point. It also comes down to the quality of higher education in this country. You will realize that most of our universities will want to increase fees now and then, not because the quality of learning is increasing, but because the universities are running on a business model that is not working. All right? We cannot compete very well or favorably in the continent because most of our universities are debt-ridden, all right? Most of them are almost in recession, okay? So this affects the quality of higher education. Look at the kind of graduates we churn into the job market. Do they meet the current job demands? Are employers looking for the kind of graduates that our universities are releasing into
But Edwin, I want to challenge you. When you look back into history, right, student leadership was very vibrant, and to a point of being a bit chaotic, to the point that the government would be even afraid of some of the things that they would do. But when you look at the current crop of student leadership, they're very demure, almost disinterested in politics, and yet that is a channel that could be used to actually make the change that they want to see. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I agree. Times are different and it's never static. Things will change time and again. The kind of leadership that we witnessed during the Orengo time, the Gitobui Manyara time, is not more the same what is witnessed right now. Because I was the last group of student leadership that we directly looked for votes from students. I would go from class to class, from whichever angle to whichever side, to look for votes. But currently, the presidency or the student leaders at the top brass is elected by a delegate system. So you can just sit and wait, influence which delegate is elected, and then you can easily buy them, and you are elected. Right. So that could bring into office incompetent student leadership that could reflect profoundly on the kind of leaders that the nation could get. Yes, student leadership is a breeding ground for future leadership.
True.
And you'll see most of our, like the likes of Akina Murkomen and that company, they have been in student leadership. I have been in student leadership, and what is the difference between the class of Orengos and the current crop? Yeah. You see, like the way campaigns are done right now in our campuses, it shifted and changed fundamentally when the Honorable Aden Duale sponsored the University Amendment Act that altered the kind of, like the way students elect their leaders. So this time round, it is not necessarily through universal suffrage, but through a delegate system that can easily be manipulated, that can easily be coerced. All right. So this brings the difference between that time and this time. And they're not lazy. It waters down actually the vibrancy of the student leadership. Yeah. It's not like in those days when like the likes of Orengo, they would come out and issue out reform demands and say things must be done differently and this must change. So that zeal and that determination, and also look at, this speaks to very many things. Do the current student leaders have the resources needed to advocate for change? So it also comes down to... is there a need for sponsorship even from the current crop of political leaders that are outside student politics? Oh yeah, like you see, for me, but personally you have to step up. My very first interview that I did in my life on television, it was on KTN, all right? And that was at the height of the ethnic tension that was brewing in Moi University immediately after my election. There was issue about the vice chancellor, and it was perceived to be coming from a community that other people were like, this university cannot be led by an outsider. So those issues brought serious concerns in the university, and that's how I also... So personal initiative. Yes, I stepped up and I did my very first interview here, and I'm still continuing. So my urge is also for student leaders to step up. If you want to get a vision accomplished, you have to step up. You have to pay the price that is on the way. Because if you are a coward, then you can only accomplish enough. But if you step up, and you say, these must change, and when you're determined, I know he must have been pushing to get his certificate because maybe he had committed his resources. And he was like, now how do I explain to my constituents that I am not running And the issue of zoning has to take center stage.
Okay.
All right. Of course, it is a political consideration thing.
Let's bring in Bahati. You brought up an issue that is very, very important, especially when you're talking about urban settlements. And given that you're running for Mathare constituency seat, it's very important to address that. That is the issue of the youth being misused. And of course, you said it's because of poverty. You know, if you give me 100 shillings and tell me to do this, I'll do it because I need to put food on the table for my family. But that does not take away from the fact that it needs to end. So if we are thinking about solutions, and given the history of this country, what direction should all of this take in terms of quelling the anger of the youth sometimes when it comes to them feeling disenfranchised or unhappy with particular results? Because not every things won't go the right way, the way they want all the time.
So for, like in Mathare, Mathare is a very, it's a very special constituency. In terms of, you know, the population, the history. But nikiongelea Mathare, I think for us, we learned in 2007. We learned, and we learned the hard way, because, you know, even after fighting during the post-elections, our lives are still the same. Our lives are still the same. I was there. Nakumbuka nilimwagiwa ile maji moto ile ya lori, you know, ile ya kudisperse crowds and all that. And that's why I am stepping in, because we just want to change the history. We want to change, you know, the story. My dream and vision in the next 10 years is that when you hear about Mathare, unaichukulia vitu tofauti.
Right.
Najua kuna saa sasa hivi nikipata na watu nikwambia nimetoka Mathare na una mtu ameweka simu yake vizuri. Alafu ukiangalia nywele nini you get. But we can change the history, and it's through, you know, through talking to the people, you know, it's through engaging the youth. In my campaigns, I started with the youth. At some point, akina mama walikuwa wanaona ni kama hii campaign yangu ni ya vijana, but I'm so passionate about the young people, because in Mathare, like weekly, we bury a young person, you know. Like yesterday, I buried one of the young, energetic, young boys, anaitwa Pogba from Kiamaiko Ward. And I can tell you, it's because, for me to focus on the youth, it's because sisi ndio tunaenda haraka. You get. Sisi every day unasikia there's someone shot down, there's someone ametuacha, alikuwa anafanya hivi, at times through crime, at times through maybe sipendi kuita wizi, but they were just hustling. And sababu mse anaona atalala njaa and all that. And for me, one of the things that I'm doing to avoid the 2007 scenario repeating itself is through speaking to the youth. Mi hata nawaambia mtu wote mwenye anakuja msimkimbize, nyie msikizeni tu. You understand? Because politics doesn't have to be violent. You know? And I believe by majorly investing and empowering these young people, not only through kuwapea tu handouts, even through speaking to them, you know, it goes a long way. Because one thing nimeona politicians pia wanafaa understand is that sisi vijana si ati tunataka tu kupewa handouts tutoke. There are people who have visions, you know. There are people when you wakipewa hiyo opportunity wanaweza do wonders. You understand? Kuna mtu tu kimfungulia hiyo couch ni enough kukutransform hiyo society. Maybe hatuwezi change everyone ama life ya kila mtu sahi, but you know, in a community, when you change the lives of only 50 people,
yeah.
you impact the society, you impact the family.
Effect.
Yes,
yeah.
and
because we've talked about movements, and it doesn't always have to be violent. We are in the age of technology and social media, and of course you're a good example of how you can use social media to effect change. Speak to us about how that can play an important part in reaching out to the youth, particularly during this election season.
It's majorly through Dasamaja. Even I'm calling also upon my fellow musicians and leaders, like my friend here. We can use our social media is huge. Like right now, I have over 3 million followers. By then, I'm the most followed male artist in the country. Yeah, Natiringi. Yeah. And one thing I know, the youth are silently watching. They silently read whatever you post.
Right.
They see whatever, you share, be it videos, be it, on Facebook, on Twitter. Every platform matters. You understand? And I know right now, watu wengi wako kwa social media. It's a platform that can really work so well. And even the government, we also calling upon the government to use such platforms.
Yeah.
And also engage people who have following, like you, to speak,
okay.
to the online, community.
Yes, for sure. Edwin, the use of social media to effect change, especially given that young people are apathetic. Some of them don't even care that we're in an election season. How can social media help?
Well, social media has, particularly in this election, become a very powerful tool in the sharing of information and messaging.
Yeah.
Because when Bahati shares a post, it will move so fast, and a lot of people will get to know about it.
Yeah.
This underscores the gains we've made technologically as a country. Look at the internet connectivity in the country.
Right.
Look at the reach and access of digital gadgets across the country. The number of smartphones that are in possession of Kenyans right now are in double numbers.
Yeah.
This means that technology is becoming a cornerstone to the economy of this country. And what normally baffles me at times is the targeting of social media, the internet, and the electronic gadgets by government in terms of taxation. Because you cannot want to reverse the gains we are making economically by hurting people through taxation. So we must reevaluate how the tax regime is working. Because if you overtax Kenyans, that means you are putting a limit to how much they can be productive.
Right.
And if we want to see the real and true gains of social media, then we must enable our young people, because they are the keyboard warriors. They are doing amazing stuff on this internet. We are using internet for innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship. So if again we put it on the radar of heavy taxation, we are not saying the government shouldn't tax. What we are saying is it should tax with care and caution.
Well,
so
if
that
you ask me, it shouldn't.
so that
yeah.
it doesn't reverse the gains.
Yes.
But then again, look at it this way. If then technology is not only important and vital to economic growth and development as a country, you see, when you look at the global scale of technology in terms of its contribution to the global economy, you realize how important it is.
For sure.
Go and research on the US economy. It is practically run by technology.
Absolutely.
So if we can incorporate technology and make it less taxable, then we will be making a significant contribution towards the economy of this country. And that is actually what we want. And most young people, many people have said that we young people do not want to spend time to queue to vote. Maybe it is bringing in an aspect where, could we trust ourselves? Can we trust our electoral system so that we can vote through poster? We can develop a system that we can vote through the internet, all right?
Yeah.
And this can be done, only that sometimes we tend to mistrust too much.
Yeah.
But if we say, can we be improvisational? Can we be questioning?
Yes.
So that we can get some of these things and gains. We'll be a pilot country in this continent.
Okay, closing remarks, very briefly.
You know, for me, kwanza ningeambia the youth, you know, this is our time. Sheskia will be the leaders of tomorrow. This is our tomorrow. Our tomorrow is today. And I call upon you, my fellow youth, to come out in large numbers in these coming elections. Let our voice be heard. And of course, I want to thank the people of Mathare for entrusting me. I'm still leading in the opinion polls, and on the 9th of August, come out in large numbers and let's vote Mtoto wa Mathare, Kevin Bahati Kioko, as the next member of parliament.
Edwin, less than 30 minutes, 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you. My appeal to Kenyans is this. As we go into 2022, this is a government that will have 5 years to ensure we realize sustainable development goals. This is the government that will have 5 years to ensure that Vision Kenya 2030 is realized. Right now, we are drawing closer to these noble goals, and as a country, we need to rally effort and get in good leaders who will legislate, oversight, and represent, who will ensure that policy making is pragmatic and targeted towards lifting millions of Kenya out of poverty and putting a meaningful dent to hunger, so that we have quality education, decent jobs, and a moving economy that is an envy of this continent.
Okay, thank you so much. That is Edwin Kegoli, former student leader as well as political analyst, and we had also none other than Kevin Bahati Kioko, who is a musician and now political aspirant. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning to discuss youth in politics, and that winds up this segment. My name is Trix Ingada. Do enjoy the rest